One of our community businesses, Wigan Men's Sheds, is now back up and running. But a couple of our other community businesses, Taste Plus Cafe and Miss Places, are still not fully open as yet. We've decided to set up on Office 365 so we can communicate better through Teams.
During lockdown, we've been able to work on turning what used to be an empty top floor of our Made in Wigan shop into a new 50-seater training room that hopefully the local council and local social enterprise and community businesses can use.
A big piece of work we're working on at the minute is how do we adapt our main buildings. The cafe, a perfect example. It's like if they move to a more takeaway delivery model, then they don't need all that space that they have.
So obviously the Grove at the present moment is closed. We've put a number of measures in place, as you'll see. So hand sanitisers, we've got a track and trace system. We're putting a website in place that will have a booking system online. We've got a one-way system that we've put in place. And then we have marked out on the floor where everybody then can or will be standing to be able to partake in their activity.
So ER Dance and Fitness deliver a variety of different dance and exercise classes within the community. Unfortunately, they've not been able to deliver any sessions. We are doing a few online community classes, which to begin with started off relatively well. But over the weeks, we've had a real decline in people signing up, doing our Zoom sessions online.
We've now designated a couple of our small interview rooms for one-to-one work, which is going to start later this week, so we can have our welfare and debt advisors come in and actually do some direct one-to-one sessions, which will be fab. We've still been on the phone obviously for many months, and it will make such a difference that people can actually come into the building and see somebody in person. We started with a full-time food bank coordinator who came into post for us in September, and then 3 weeks ago we were thrilled to be able to recruit 2 new workers through the Power to Change Empowering Places project, one for the community shop development and one for the community cafe development at the Grove. And through the good work of communications and social media, we've already got a long list of people, new people that are coming forward to volunteer in both those new enterprises.
We've set up a Christmas card exchange scheme. Our volunteers and staff are going to drive around to people's homes, collect cards from them, and then we'll do an exchange for them with their group members that they would normally see. We have got quite a lot of local companies, many private companies that are donating hampers for the food bank. We've also got a couple of organisations donating new toys. Like everybody, we didn't know how long, what would the financial impact be. We sort of went through the businesses that we've got and sort of almost sort of ranked them well. Do you think we'll lose them? Do you think they'll manage? We do virtual tenancies, which have been very popular for many years. And what we felt was it's that some of the tenants that have got offices might convert into virtual tenants and so let go their lease. And that has happened. Once the business support grants came in from the government through the local authority, our manager at the business box helped a lot of the businesses to claim their £10,000. And because of that, most of them said it was a lifeline. With that plus the furlough, it was a lifeline. We decided to cut our staff team into 2 halves, Team A and Team B. So 1 week Team A would run that building and Team A run that building, and then it would swap over the following week, which meant we were able to have people working from home in the second week and taking some furlough time as well.
Both our area and the people we work with have got very high incidence of health issues. We didn't want to bring people together face to face because we felt they were high risk. However, like everybody else, we've become much better at Zoom and things like that. And we're trying to pass on some of those skills to the people we work with. The businesses we were supporting, COVID's had a different effect on each one of them. So, for example, the Elders Wellbeing Cafe, they had to go on hold during the first lockdown. So now they're exploring the idea of, rather than meeting with the whole group, to do some smaller group sessions, you know, the rule of 6 kind of thing. During lockdown, we have given out new seed grant funds. The first 4 were people we were already talking to. They slightly altered their request because of COVID. So, for example, a couple of health and wellbeing groups, they tweaked what they were offering under the seed grant because they were going online.
Our local council, they came straight to us now for some COVID prevention assistant jobs. And we managed to fill this. We managed to meet their needs.
Our volunteers have been going out on a daily basis, doing shopping, prescription pickups and doing other things, key safe installations, moving beds downstairs for people that are leaving hospital. And it's been quite challenging over the last 5 months, but we've enjoyed it. We've shown everybody what we can do.
We've been struggling over the COVID lockdown because the building supply merchants obviously stopped and shut their doors. Now they're back open, we are also open to the public.
The farm, fantastically, has actually managed to have 10,000 visitors. It was about repeat visits. It was about everybody getting involved and seeing it as a community farm, not as a tourist attraction. With the gym, although it's been awkward, we did manage to get it open and we got some volunteers from the members to clean. What has been difficult for everybody is maintaining relationships. It's not been impossible, it's just required more effort than it would normally. I think also with the community organisers, what they got to grips with was actually using social media more effectively, was working out how to schedule things properly, planning proper kind of comms plans. We made the decision to ask members if they still felt there was a need for a library. Essentially, there isn't. So we have given books away to a school library, and that space is now being occupied by the community organisers.
We're sort of working through, like everybody, the real challenge of how we open up in a safe way. We've managed to get Ocean Studios open down in the Royal Inn Yard, which is kind of an art space, and the cafe running, one-way systems, booking systems.
Our membership continues to grow. That's getting up close to 2,000 now. Continuously to doing sort of online activities and events. Increasingly becoming more sophisticated. There's webinars, there's training. The Market Hall is coming on, which is our major new tech space, which is going to open in the new year. There's quite a lot of youth programs around that we are delivering on, things like Kickstarter. We're an intermediary for that, so we can become the applicant organisation, provide placements for partners like our community businesses and things like that. So it's not so much us who are providing food boxes, but we are supporting the Village Hub with grants and technical support and their setup, who are providing food boxes and things like that.
We've received 1,000 art supply packs for our Silver Lining project, which links with the annex. 80% of those packs have now gone out across the town. It's been a really positive response, and we've made lots of new connections.
We're still legally not able to open to the public to mix, which is heartbreaking. We've continued to intercept the food from landfill. We've been able to put that outside, and what is really interesting is the number of new people accessing that. It's noticeable. We continue to mobilise and engage with our community, either electronically or in person, but outside of the building. And those things which couldn't be done outside, we managed to accommodate a lot of it internally, safely.
From a business point of view, we've been really lucky to be able to still generate income from most of our tenants. So when you're at home and I'm on my own, I kind of feel like I'm doing more work and more strategic stuff, picking my brains. I've got the flexibility and the freedom to think this made in Wigan e-commerce that we've set up hasn't been populated as much as we want, so therefore it's in the back burner at minute because we don't want to launch it until it's fully populated. None of the men's sheds or Miss Places were really able to kind of furlough because they were more sole trader, charitable-led groups. So for us, but the dilemma is if we want to get rent out of these groups from April, the conversations that they need to pay rent, that could be a way off. It was evident when the stakeholder survey came back that 9 out of 10 comments made by people were targeted towards the cafe in a negative way, because they're saying if you are a community business, you should be prime centre, and you've been literally not present since March. And last thing you want is the community thinking, we created this building and when we need it the most, it's locked and there's a door locked. So yeah, thank goodness for the nursery that they've still been able to trade.
The trading side of things is faring better than we anticipated. And obviously the Health and Social Care Centre has the NHS as its main tenant anyway, and so that's not changed. They've been as busy as ever, you can imagine. And our houses, the tenants in our houses have continued to pay their rents, so that's not really been impacted. So the main trading loss has been at the Grove significantly. Football have really been hit by this whole crisis. They've stopped from the start and stopped from the start. Some of the teams as part of the club actually left, went to join clubs in the county so they could play. They voted with their feet because of restrictions. I think the bigger impact has been on individuals in terms of loss of jobs, loss of income, reduced hours of work. The increase in food bank users has been stark. We've had an increase of 37% since lockdown on food bank users, which is quite a sad indictment of how people have been really impacted financially. So we've been really very keen to raise funds for the food bank.
COVID's not just going to go away, and there's a need to recognise that there may be an emotional response, both from individuals and the community as a whole, post-COVID, and that there's already so many different feelings and thoughts from different people. Some people think we should just ignore it and get on with it. Some people have been devastated by it. So that is something that we'll need to be sensitive to. There are a lot of people that do experience mental health challenges, that COVID has made that worse, but in some cases it's made it more apparent. So it was there before. Now people realise they don't need to have a desk in a specific space that's just for them. They potentially can work from home or work from a more casual shared space or share an office.
The local residents are enjoying visiting the animals. They're pleased that we're open, and I think for many of them who've been isolated, this is a welcome distraction from everything that's been going on the past few months.
What's happened is our profile has been raised, but also people want to get involved as well, so that's good.
It really has made us think about how we work in the community and getting more volunteers. We've learnt that social isolation is a big thing in the community. 70% of the people that we've supported, they were isolated before COVID. And they all said that without the response of ERA and a lot more agencies, they wouldn't have known what to have done.
A number of the people that ERA have been placing into work are only looking for work because they've been furloughed or they've been made redundant from other roles.
I think the biggest thing for us is where customer-facing retail and food and drink offers can't happen, we've flipped that round towards contract delivery. And then the huge move to online, which was support and growing our membership model, which was kind of planned for this year. It was planned to start rolling out in September. We started rolling out in April. The negative impact of this is, in some ways, we're probably not near the beginning yet. The stuff that's going to roll on is going to be the economic impact, huge unemployment, and the impact that's going to have on the most vulnerable.
Unfortunately, COVID is ripping through Dyke House as we speak. Lots of people who would normally be using the place have caught it, and some of them are really quite poorly. We had some really bad news about one of our former community organisers, and sadly he's died.
We're currently doing a questionnaire to find out what's the impact on people's lives. The initial response is people's mental well-being has been hammered. I think it's genuinely people have struggled enormously with the fear of what might happen and the reality of what has happened to them. Andy's Man Club, which is nothing to do with us particularly, was kicked out of Hartlepool United because they wouldn't want to have to keep cleaning up. But essentially, by that decision for us to offer that space to that group, 2 men didn't commit suicide. I think in a nutshell, we are back to our unemployment rate of 1995. And I'm not sure what the economic resilience of this place is to deal with that. I think our relationships with our private sector colleagues have strengthened again. You could argue that people in the public sector sign up for stuff to go wrong like this, but they step so far outside of their natural environment and have done brilliantly well. And I think the fact that we recognise that and can say that to them helps. I think there is an absolute role for community leadership and visible community leadership. And I think that's probably the role we stepped into. One thing we have done is created some fantastic relationships over the last 9 months with organisations who we didn't need to work with, but then suddenly our people needed that, and we've done that, and we've done it in a really mature, thought through, fantastic way, and that's benefited people. And ultimately we have to keep remembering why we're here.
If the cafe is going to be more digitally minded in the future and people aren't going to want to come and eat out, then we can help the sustainability of the cafe by saying you only need to rent a kitchen space, not a full dining room area. And then we can help them move digital. That helps their sustainability. And then from our point of view, we'll then have a conference facility back, which will enable us to generate more income. But that's partly where the question is at the minute is, do you get more money through renting those kind of space out to a community business as a rental facility rather than having it as a room hire facility? So the plan is that the Fairclent organisation gets the food in from supermarkets that would have gone to waste. And then what will happen is that as part of their sustainability model to run this, there'll be like a membership fee. When you're kind of thinking, is anybody going to commission us post-2022? You want to kind of develop services that you run and own. And the e-commerce platform will be a great source of income generation where we take a commission out of it, like Amazon might do or Etsy or whatever. But maybe that might be seen as being too much of a profit gain from us, and maybe it needs to be owned. The big part of our plan has always been to take over more assets. The problem with Abram Ward is that there's not many assets at the minute. We've lost a lot of buildings for housing. So we've started to identify places outside of Abram Ward that are buildings that we could take over, which would give us greater sustainability.
So the employment of Dawn to be the cafe worker has been a massive injection. I think she's got something like 16 people at the moment she's working with, volunteers that are coming together to look at the cafe. That she's done a skills audit with them. In terms of our own sustainability, it's still very positive. And our assets are without doubt, what makes us sustainable with our anchor tenants and that sort of thing. I think it has raised our profile again, because certainly the local authority has used us as a conduit for lots of stuff and come to us and given us bits of funding to do bits and bobs that they can't do locally.
We've made lots of connections where ERA's name has been discussed in meetings, and I think this has really helped highlight the profile of ERA and Centre 4.
One of the things that we have got involved in the last 2 weeks is the new Kickstart government scheme. So ERA will be applying to be an intermediary.
One of the things that's been remarkable in terms of sustainability of the organisation is that we've taken on new tenants all the way through. People definitely see the value of being part and in the building. I think in terms of maintaining sustainability is actually taking the time now to review the business plans and to review where everybody wants to go. Importantly, I think to use the community organisers to understand what the community needs are, because they have changed as well.
I think the sort of the medium-term picture is all right. There is a really good pipeline of business and work. We've got a rolling succession of sort of smaller consultancy projects, supporting other community businesses and community business hotel, community business railway, an art centre here, and those kind of things.
On Friday this week, we buy this building, but we're going to keep it as a surprise for people. So that's great. We have purchased the second house and we're about to start purchasing the third house. We have a social action clause within the tenancy. We've already started conversation with people who'd want to come and live in our places, recognising that that's in there because of what else that they get. If you become part of the organisation, really, and our accountability to them, because they will essentially fund the place through their rent. I've got people say we'll run a shop, or we've got the opportunity to, with another not-for-profit, look at creating a brewery and have a microbrewery or a tap house. As a charity, you trade on your reputation. And if our reputation is an organisation which plays it straight, understands its place, understands the people of its place, and can use that in a way to turn around and say, actually, it's not always about money. Sometimes there are just small ways of doing things slightly differently which make a bigger impact. And I would like to think that our sustainability will be more likely as a result of that